Talking of which, the other big news story is, as predicted, with the nice weather, warmer than Dallas yesterday, thank you, G-Spot, 545 new illegal migrants, not children, not women, men, young men, arrived yesterday on 10 boats. It took them 29 minutes and 35 seconds to be ushered through Border Force, and they are now in the United Kingdom, in a hotel, with all the privileges that come with that. France is being given millions every year by us, and they've worked out that the 66,000 that have come, it's costing 8,000 for each of the ones they've stopped. That's how much of an appalling job they're doing. The Home Office said in response to us this morning, we are pressing on with joint operations with the French, which has helped block 40,000 crossing attempts under this government. But let's forget the 66,000 that have got in. Let's get straight to it. Is he in front of his mother's curtains? A very good morning to James Price, former... Is this the new abode, JP?
I've been working so hard to get a background that is worthy of your programme and to leave poor Mummy Price's curtains alone. I hope that some of this looks vaguely sensible behind me.
Is this your new study?
I'm afraid it is. This is where I get locked in every day by Mrs. Price the Younger until I've done all my work and earned my crust and can come out again.
And then you can get in the garden and cut the grass and empty the bins. Do you know what happens when anybody sits in an office like that? I look through the glass and all of them are looking for something dodgy in the background that they can then say, ask him about that book or that. Anyway, not with you. You're a top man. Mate, can we get straight to it? You turned number 16 on the cards. The Chagos Islands. Extraordinary yesterday. Useless deal. And now Gibraltar. What do you know?
It's absolutely astonishing, isn't it? I've had such a blissful time moving house and lugging boxes around, and I come back to looking at the news again, and it's just the same old horrors from the Labour Party. Why did they keep pushing this Chagos deal this far, knowing it was so awful and so reprehensible? Such a vote loser, has destroyed or damaged our reputation with the United States of America, has led every other country to line up to try and take either bits of territory or money, or bits of territory and money off us. And yet they kept persisting with this. As you say, beyond the 15 other things that they did screeching Dukes of Hazzard car chase style U-turns on. And now they come to this finally, having expended all of the political capital, and they now go, yeah, okay, actually, it turns out we can't quite yet give away all this territory along with many tens of billions of pounds we don't have. It is absolutely extraordinary. It's already done huge amounts of damage to the United Kingdom, to our finances, to our standing in the world, and now to this point, exactly as I say, that other countries will try and come along and take other things off us.
They will.
Gibraltar is one of those longer running sores, and it just goes to the same, I think, mindset of everybody in that Labour Party, that Britain is bad. They hate the country that they run in many different ways. They wish it would be very different. They wish its history wouldn't be so proud, that our ancestors hadn't been so buccaneering at going and exploring new parts of the world and spreading common law and democracy and civilization to every continent and every country going around the world. They hate all of that. They clearly hate the Chagosians, by the way, you can see on the screen, but they definitely hate that there is this little patch called Gibraltar that they want to get rid of and give away to the Spanish, who make all kinds, by the way, of anti-imperialist claims, which make anybody who's ever been to, I don't know, Mexico or any of South America laugh when you hear them speaking Spanish there, or the fact that the Spanish themselves have their own two versions of Gibraltar on the North African coast that they refuse to give back to any African countries. So they know that they're taking the mick with this stuff, and we're either so thick or so gullible or so masochistic that we're willing to countenance giving away Gibraltar to Spain eventually.
Mate, and you know, on the very basis of a U-turn, it's bad enough, but when you listen to the ideology, when you understand the ideology, which is, as you quite rightly say, just sort of to apologise for everything we were and everything we are, and it just does my head in that people hate this country, that run this country. I'm with you. I'm not, you know, we didn't get everything right, but if you're going to systematically try and strip back everything this country is, everything this country stands for, I think it's just so dangerous, mate. I mean, I suspect Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel says that a draft treaty has been agreed about Gibraltar, but ministers won't bring it to the chamber because they know it'll be so unpopular. Under the deal, allegedly, JP, Gibraltar will remain British, but must follow EU rules under its new Brexit deal, the full legal text of the agreement has revealed. I mean, that goes against what the British people want, doesn't it?
Well, no, who cares what the British people want, say the Labour Party, right?
Yeah.
They will tell them what they think is good for them. Oh, actually, no, it's not good for them anymore. It's good for the international community, maybe for the global south. Those poor benighted Spaniards who are busy at the moment giving, I think, a pathway to citizenship for 500,000 illegal people who broke into Spain from third world countries, which, by the way, of course, if we were still in the European Union proper, then those 500,000 people from third world countries that Spain has just given a path to citizenship to would be eligible to move to Britain and start claiming benefits and houses and all the rest of it. So let's just be thankful at least that we've mostly got ourselves out of the grip of the European Union.
Now, this morning, dealing with the Chagos thing, right, is one thing. Dealing with Gibraltar's another. And then Poppy Coburn, our good friend from the Daily Telegraph, has delivered a line that has left me... I don't know what to say anymore, JP, which is why I wanted to get my dear, dear friend on. As predicted, due to the weather, it was warmer than Dallas yesterday here. 545 migrants arrived. That makes 66,000. He hasn't managed to smash the gangs. The boats are coming, obviously. Nice weather. Why don't you get more border force? There was a story yesterday, JP, that you could... There they are. Yeah, 29 minutes and 40 seconds after they get off the boat, they've cleared border force and are in this country on their way to a hotel. Takes 3 times that to get in from Alicante, but that's another story. The government oblivious to this story again and again. Millions to the French who aren't doing their job. And then Poppy told us that because we're an island, under human rights law, it would be easier if we were landlocked, because if we were landlocked, we could build a fence or a wall. Because we're surrounded by water, the people who come in illegally, we have an absolute human rights right or important thing to treat them and make sure they don't drown, so we have to taxi them here. Why not taxi them back to France, says Gersa? Why not get the Royal Navy to pick them up and take them back to where they came from? No, we have to transport them here in case they drown. That's what we're dealing with. That's the truth. I know.
So Napoleon and William the Conqueror and the Spanish Armada and Hitler all should have just invented international law if they'd have wanted to invade Britain.
Absolutely.
It would have been much easier for them.
You're absolutely right. Anybody who's thinking invading Britain now, just go ahead, because you could drown on the way over, and human rights law says we're going to have to pick you up and taxi you here to make sure you're right. So just send your army. We'll transport. It's just... But I can't even say the word I want to say.
The real problem of this here is the disjunct between politics and the way that politics works and the way that law works, certainly when applied to international law. You have these guys who say, well, because it's written here in the International Tribunal or the Law of the Sea or whatever else it may be, that just has to be done, and it has to trump the national interest, which isn't written down in quite such a prescriptive way in either domestic or international statute, because obviously things change and Britain has, eternal interests. But if you were to write a law that says you must only do good things for Britain, it wouldn't work very well. It would be overinterpreted, etc. And this is the danger, that you now have so much of this so-called international law around the place, and it makes it very difficult, especially in a system where you have a large number of civil servants and lawyers and quangos and not very many political appointments, and you and I have talked about this all the time, that it's impossible to get this done. I don't know if you or any of your listeners or viewers, of whom, by the way, there are many, many more than when you started taking over, so well done again for that.
Thank you, my friend.
I don't know how many of them have seen the movie No Country for Old Men that won the Oscar a few years ago, Coen Brothers movie. It's got Javier Bardem in that horrible haircut/wig, and he's a terrifying murderer, and he captures someone and he says, you've got all these rules, but if your rules brought you here to me, what use were your rules? I think that's where we're at now.
Mate, I hate it, actually, because I don't want to sit here every day and bang my head against a brick wall and wonder. I'll give you another example. Yesterday, Chagos, then Gibraltar, then the boats. Yesterday morning, full of the joys of spring as much as he can do, up jumps Starmer and goes, great news, Mr. Speaker. At 7 o'clock this morning, we announced that energy bills have gone down by £117. He didn't sound like that. And everybody went, whoa, this is fantastic. And 2 hours later, X, because they've got this community note thing, which means don't lie because we'll out you, put... You're lying, yet again. In fact, energy bills are £73 more expensive than when you came to power. In July 24, they were 1,568 a year. April 2026, they'll be 1,641. So this merchant of doom, this liar, will stand and think we are going to swallow BS, because that's what it is. That's how bad it's got. And that is how bad his operation is, because he thinks he can pull the wool over people's eyes? Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I do think he is a filthy liar and totally shameless. But on this one, is he just so thick because he doesn't understand any of this stuff and no one around him understands any of this stuff?
I'll give you an example that is perfect for this, right? People will laugh. I started out as a salesman and I was selling radio advertising space years ago in Swindon. And I went to see this client and I remember him saying to me, I've got a car rental business and it's great during the week, but at the weekend I can't shift any cars. And I said, show me your book, right? And it was whatever it was at the weekend, right? So I said, if it's £50 a day, make it 80. Right, and then we ran an advert saying half price weekend car hire, right? It was half price from what it was made to look almost just a little bit less than the 50 that it originally was. It was 45. That's marketing. My point is, this guy doesn't have the intelligence to work out that the British electorate, the silent majority, have sussed out the fact that he lies the whole time. Whether it's Chagos, whether it's farmers, waspy, and we've done the list, JP, until I am bored to death of it. And still he is peddling BS. And people just... they've switched off. Starmer is where the Tory party were at the end of 14 years. Nobody, I believe, is listening to this man at all.
No, I think that's exactly right. By the way, including his own backbenchers and I think some of his cabinets. The fact that he survived that sort of almost very weak, limp-wristed coup the other week, he still had to come out and say, oh, I agree with all the people in my cabinet who've said that everything is going really badly. He's so weak. And when you look at it from an international perspective, it's so embarrassing. Listen to any American podcast talk about what's going on here in the UK. Listen to the way the Europeans and the Middle Easterners and all the rest of it talk about us. It's so embarrassing. And it's embarrassing that, as you say, he can't even work out that we're in a different age now where you can't get away with lying. You also can't get away with the immutable laws of supply and demand. As a former salesman, you would understand these rules implicitly. Most of the people listening today understand the rules of supply and demand. They understand these things. But to Starmer and that total Wally Ed Miliband, I used to have behind me here a mug of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit until Mrs. Price told me I might lose some gravitas. But then you put Ed Miliband back on the screen, so it's fine. These guys don't understand how anything in the real world works. They think they can just say, oh, yeah, I'm making bills cheaper without what? Oh, have you dug more coal or found more oil or put more solar panels down or more nuclear energy? No. Right. Well, how have you managed to get the bills down then?
I imagine that day in my life.
I dream going to mess up the market later.
Completely agree. I dream of that day where I'm sat, honestly, opposite Ed Miliband, and I literally say to him, right, you've got this crazy notion that you know, this is so important, despite the fact that we only release 1% of carbon monoxide and all of those things, and it's going to cost billions. But let me just ask you this. Your wind farms do not create enough, and you end up importing electricity, which is why people's energy bills are going up. And then, of course, if it blows too much, we can't store it, and it costs more to turn those things off. Do you not, forget ideology a minute, Mr. Miliband, right? Do you not understand that fiscally that is utterly, utterly disastrous and stupid and pointless and costs billions that this country doesn't have? What would he say? No, it's about the environment. Right, so we're happy
he
to
would
all
say
be
that
skinned.
you were an evil right-wing fascist, obviously, right? That's the only readout of these people.
Okay.
It is true that in order to upgrade to kind of new, exciting technologies, it does have a cost to it.
Sure.
Which is why it's so mad that we're cancelling North Sea oil, that we're not allowing, people might not agree with me on this, that we're not allowing fracking, which has made American energy bills absolutely tiny compared to us. They're now less than half. America is now...
Why don't you just take what you've got under your own ground and pay off your debts? It's money, isn't it?
Exactly, right? And we're not doing this for the environment because it's now just other countries who are creating those carbon emissions and that we get to feel good about it whilst Granny freezes to death over the winter, which is what happens here in the United Kingdom, which is totally bonkers. What I'm suggesting is that in the short term, you get fracking going again, you get all these other kind of carbon emissions, because frankly, we're too poor not to do this anymore. And you use some of the surplus of that as more sensible energy policy, both to get nuclear energy going, which is a wonderful thing, and the French use it, and their bills are 2/3 cheaper than ours are because they've got more nuclear plants than most others. By the way, we until the 60s had more nuclear power plants than the rest of the world put together, and then we messed up. I suspect it was probably another socialist government that messed that up.
Greenpeace.
So you get those stuff, and then you can get the new technologies that will make the Earth happy and healthy and all the rest of it. But you can't afford to buy any of that stuff if you're so damn poor that Granny is freezing in her bed at night.
Completely agree. I just want to finish this morning. I love the whole study look. I always like to finish with you, my friend, in a slightly light-hearted way. But have you had any breakfast?
Not yet.
Okay,
oh, no.
Which is probably good. So I'm going to show you a photograph. I'd like your response to this photograph. This is from the Epstein files. If you could put up the photograph. This is Professor Stephen Hawking. This is genuinely true if you're just tuning in. On Epstein's island, lying on a sunbed, with a cocktail being held to his mouth by two bikini-clad women who look about 20. In response to this being released yesterday, two things happened. One, his family said these two young things were carers, and I've also put in an application to enter the old person's home as quickly as possible. Stephen Hawkins was up to his neck. I mean, the whole thing is beyond me. Have you ever seen carers like that?
No, I've never seen carers who have black boxes for faces. Very peculiar.
Well,
I've always said that you'd have seen that Oscar-winning movie, The Theory of Everything. I'm not sure what I think about this gritty sequel to the movie.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Hawking goes on the Leiter Express to Epstein's Island, and they can't be carers, can they? And if they are carers, what are they doing with cocktail skimpy bikinis laying all over him? I mean, honestly, the whole thing. The whole thing.
It's not often I'm left speechless, is it? Goodness me.
Yeah.
But I'll be joining you there in that old person's home if this is what it comes to.
Oh, God, you'll be in trouble with Mrs. P now. Granny will be on the phone. Listen, mate, it's always a pleasure. We love having you on. Looking forward to lunch next week. The legend that is James
Morning,
Price.
Jason.
Good man, thank you. Former government advisor, 7:22.